Ask.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I'd be happy to help, but
That's all right.
I'm learning out now too.
In Uptown Charlotte, where we're hearing a silent protest is about to get underway. All this while the city braces for what could be another long night of protests. Uptown Charlotte, many businesses have let their employees go home early for the day in anticipation of any protests this evening. Reporting live tonight in Charlotte, David Hurst, CBS, North Carolina.
But I see that you guys are having tension. No, I'm not saying that. We have a lot of things happening today. I'm not against you.
School only gives you the piece of black history that the white...
We're here in Uptown Charlotte, where this began as a silent protest, but as you can see behind me, there's a woman speaking some spoken word right now, and you can see behind her just a bunch of signs, people being silent, holding up signs in response to the officer-involved killing of Keith Scott. Now, the organizers tell me that they don't have any intention to disrupt traffic or make any disruptions here. They're just trying to prove a point, and as you can see, the crowd gathering here, a large gathering here at the corner, but again, not blocking any intersections, blocking traffic right now. You can hear the crowd cheering. They say they're just trying to prove a point and raise awareness about the issue. You can see a lot of folks holding signs. A couple dozen folks gathered here. This is just one of many organized events this evening. In a couple hours here, there's what they're calling a rally for justice just a block away at a church up the street. We'll continue to follow all of these protests and, of course, bring you the update right here on CBS North Carolina. For now, reporting live in Charlotte, David Hurst, CBS North Carolina.
It's not a crime. Being black is 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 not a crime.
No, it's not a crime.
Being black is not a crime.
Not a crime.
Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Not a crime. Being black is 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 not a crime.
Being black is not a crime.
Being black is not a crime. Not a crime. Being black is not a crime.
I was not born a crime.
Being black is not a crime.
Say it loud.
Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime.
Black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime.
Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime.
Y'all went down there and got them start fucking y'all goddamn women and shit, don't we? Man,
Protest, okay?
there ain't no justice, no peace.
I understand.
Black is not a crime. Not a crime.
Say it loud.
Being black is not a crime.
Say it loud.
Being black is not a crime. Being black is not a crime.
What did you ask me?
What is your name?
Tasha James.
How do you spell that?
Tasia James.
What do you guys choose to come out here today?
Because I'm a mother of a young black son. I'm raising a young black son. His father passed away, and I need him to understand how important his life is, not only to me, but to a lot of other people. I hope that by the time he becomes a man, that he gets a chance to become a man. I need to teach my son how to stand up for himself. I don't want him to be complacent. I know over the years a lot of people have become complacent, and I don't want to raise a complacent child. So I want him to show him where we come from and what we can do without violence and without being complacent, and see where we can end up.
What do you tell them every time something like this happens?
The truth. I tell them the truth. We sit and watch, my son's name is Tajay, we sit and watch the news together. When something like this happens, I actually pull him into the room because I want him to hear it from me. I don't want him to hear about it from anybody else. I don't want somebody else's viewpoints to come into our household. So we talk about it. I let him know that all police officers aren't bad. All white people don't dislike black people, but there are a select few of black people that are bad and a select few of white people that are bad, and other races. We're actually from California, so we come from a very diverse place. So this is like a new thing for us. I just think it's very important that he knows that it's historical. It's very historical. My mom always says how we're going back to when she was a child. So I think it's important that he experience it together so that when he comes out here as an adult, he does it the right way.
Good deal. How old is he?
10.
10?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Being black is not a crime. Justice. Being black is not a crime. 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 Being black is not a crime.
Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot.
Well, Sean, we're here in Uptown Charlotte where this began as a silent protest, but as you can see and hear behind me, folks chanting, hands up, don't shoot. Earlier they were chanting, being black is not a crime. Now these protests stem from the killing of Keith Scott. Police say Officer Brentley Vincent shot and killed Scott during a search for a suspect wanted for an outstanding warrant. Police say Scott had a gun and refused when police ordered him to drop it. But Scott's family is telling a different story, saying he was unarmed and holding a book. It's led community activists to call on police to be open with this investigation. The two narratives, police say, is causing confusion and division within the community. And back out here in Uptown Charlotte, you'll see police across the street just keeping an eye on the situation here. Organizers say they don't plan on blocking traffic or getting violent. They say this is a peaceful protest, but police officers tell us that they are prepared for whatever happens this evening. They say they're hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. Reporting live in Charlotte, David Hirsch, CBS, North Carolina.
my choice is to comply with the law. I ask you, this is why I ask you, mine's please again. Now tell us what we can do.
My son was killed in 08, okay? But I stand here to tell y'all, until you respect yourself, they're not going to respect you. I don't care how much you are. That's bottom line. You got to learn how to respect yourself.
Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, those leaders, young brother, he's black and he's proud. Why do we have to continue to sit here and watch these motherfuckers look in our face like that love us up?
Hang on.
Yeah, check. Trey, what? What are your mom telling you every time something like this happens? What does she say to you? Do you live here in Charlotte? What kind of goes through your mind when you hear stuff like this happen? What's your first name?
Bernice.
Bernice, what's your last name?
Mendez.
How do you spell Mendez? How do you spell it?
What? Which one?
Is
First,
it Bernice?
Bernice.
How do
With
you
a
spell
P.
it? With a P?
Yes.
Okay. And last name, common spelling?
Mendez, yes.
All right, Bernice, what are you out here doing today?
Standing for justice. We want justice.
What kind of goes through your mind every time something like this happens?
The injustice that we get. There's always a killing of a black person, but there's never any repercussion for it. So you know, we're just tired of it. You know, we want to change, and it needs to have a change. So yeah.
What do you think of these protests? Do you think they're effective?
Lately, yes, they are effective. They're getting more and more people out, making more and more people aware of what's going on. So yes, it is effective. It is effective.
What about if it turns violent?
That's not effective. that's the wrong message that we want. We want peace, but we want an action to happen. So yeah.
Are you Charlotte resident? Live here? Native? How long you lived here?
Since 1989.
Okay. Has it gotten any better, you feel like? Has there been any
worse? It's gotten worse. When I first moved here.
Let's go. We can let the motherfuckers be here. Take y'all ass home somewhere and let us deal with our own shit. Right. Cause we gotta deal with this shit. But what the fuck are we doing? That's the thing. We gotta get out of the victim mentality. My sister, we gotta get out of the victim mentality though. We gotta stop saying they motherfuckers come in your neighborhood with that pussy shit. Yeah! Stop standing there allowing your brother to be killed. Filming that shit. Push that motherfucking pig off of him. Save his life. Don't pray for his life. Save his goddamn life. That's what we need to be doing. Stop watching your brother and your sister being killed by the goddamn police. Stop watching that shit. Start preventing it. Go to your fucking neighbor and go to see your neighbor. Organize. Organize. I came out here to organize. Organize. I ain't just come out here to do no damn. He said prayer didn't work unless he prayed with his feet. So we got to get about action. Jesus ain't starting nothing right now. Pray with your feet. What do you think Jesus wants us to do? Sit back and get killed by the police? You want us to No, we got to do something for ourselves. You talk about the children of Israel. What did they do in the Bible when they wandered around in the wilderness? We ain't gonna be serious. We might well go home. Straight up. No matter. We waiting on. Everybody gonna be mad. We gonna be here by himself. I understand. What that brother Charlie was doing out here last night. He was turning up. We give you Charlie. We tired of Charlie. That's what's wrong now. Charlie. We tired of Charlie. I don't want silence no more. We need a loud voice. We need voices together in the world with. We need that. Every time you want peace silent. Yeah, let me get my life. You want to
Yes, sir. 99, so what? About 11 kilometers.
Last name and spell it for me.
My name is Quan McCoy, Q-U-A-N McCoy, M-C-C-O-Y.
And Quan, what are you out here doing tonight?
I'm out here, honestly, I'm observing before I take action because, you know, I love the energy and the motivation that I see from my people and a lot of people out here, but for the most part, I'm here, I'm observing. I'm looking at the actions and the thoughts of a lot of people and what they're saying and what they're trying to do.
And what kind of have you observed so far?
From what I see so far, it's half and half. It's a lot of fake motivation, and it's a lot of real action that I see. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of people who are using this as a media spectrum and something to kind of feed off of and to get attention for the time being, for having the voice for the moment. And it's all good for speaking for your people and speaking for the right cause, but it's a way about going. It's a way of going about it. Because at the end of the day, if you want to really be heard, you have to do more than the norm. You got to do a lot of different things. So it's just funny to me. How you doing?
So do you think these protests are effective in terms of leading to change?
I believe that they are, but it has to be done differently. It has to be in a multitude of differentness and uniqueness to the point where you can't get the normal reactions that you would normally, there was a lot of people out there. They did great, such and such, but you want to change it. You want to change the mindset of how people are going to perceive a regular protest.
What goes through your mind every time, there's someone killed by an officer or a situation like this?
Of course, you got to realize that people are killed every day by every race. Death is death, but I feel like these type of situations are magnified because of what's going on right now in America, and people know that they're going to get a very big reaction no matter what as long as you put race into a situation. Because that's one of the oldest crimes in America and one of the oldest things that we have in America that people still cling on to. And so, honestly, there may be a white kid that got killed by a white officer in another state as we speak, and it may not be getting that much big media attention. And it is of the same equal importance. But it's just funny how every time something like this happens, it's a way bigger backlash media-wise, and it's a lot more propaganda.
Appreciate it, man.
All these black women still be able to reproduce so black people can exist. What you mean? That's why I'm out here. I don't expect it to change overnight, but I ain't gonna stop. I ain't gonna stop. For real, I ain't gonna stop.
You got an iPhone. I want you to do
This ain't no iPhone. Fuck iPhone.
If anybody come out and talk to you,
No.
okay. I came out. You know, let me say this. I can be. Listen.
I'm talking to a black.
No, brother, don't walk off. Don't walk off.
Y'all talking to a black.
Because I retired.
They going to get him out of here?
Y'all ain't laughing now. Y'all outside.
I retired from here.
They ain't running no more.
It's still funny to them. They
That's what all y'all
He's up there dealing with that. Those 300 people. Sorry.
We ain't gonna get nothing done.
Now, and I'm gonna ask you this: if we're out here a week from now, do you think it's gonna change? Do you think anything gonna change?
You know why? Because you're just out here.
After y'all,
but listen. Because guess what? You were just out here.
Hold on, brother. We heard your soliloquy.
We got Tron.
After y'all done waited it out, and y'all see it ain't nobody out there. What the hell are y'all doing? Do y'all just let it die out? Do y'all let it die out, or do y'all say, oh shit, that is fucked up. We need to fix it. So when is that gonna happen?
Listen to me, bro.
Who's gonna come on the news and say that officer was dead wrong? We as the CMPD don't approve of that blue code. When is that going?
Get rid of the blue code.
Let me say this.
I know you're gonna
of them are news.
Do what?
I think a few of them are news.
Yeah, right. All we were was what. That was the one cool thing about being up there. We could go all three sides of the dining room and see how many.
Sure, in a minute.
That's what they do to the people.
Where is Michael Campagna? Tell him I'm here. He knows. No, you don't do that. Peace. 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 Here. We don't need to fight.
NACO-MA, Strickland, S-T-R-I-C-K-L-A-N-D. It's just complete chaos between the police and everybody out here. I mean, the police want to show resistance, but yet be here, but then the people out here, you know, they're wanting to fight for the cause, you know. Everybody's lives matter, but yet a guy got shot in the head up here by a beanbag, and he got knocked unconscious and laid down on the ground, and I've got pepper sprayed 4 times, you know, and tear gas quite a few times out here, and it's just a massive scene. I mean, it's just unreal. It shouldn't be like this.
So what are you still doing that?
Because I care. I care. I like every other American citizen out here does. I care about these people. I care about myself. I care about everybody's lives, not just black lives, everybody's lives. including my own life is at stake every time I walk out the door from the police department.
Do you think this demonstration is effective?
I think it shows that the power of the people is here, and everybody has the knowledge and the know-how to say, hey, this is our cause, this is what we're fighting for. But as far as the actual effectiveness of it, I don't think the effectiveness will be there at all. I think city council members will look at it as a thug riot and then disregard it as that and then blow it off the next morning. It's just complete chaos between the police and everybody out here. I mean, the police want to show resistance, but yet be here. But then the people out here, you know, they're wanting to fight for the cause. You know, everybody's lives matter, but yet a guy got shot in the head up here by a beanbag, and he got knocked unconscious and laid out on the ground. And I've got pepper sprayed 4 times, you know, and tear gas quite a few times out here. And it's just a massive scene. I mean, it's just unreal.
Got up to a parking deck to try and get a better vantage point of what exactly is going on. If you'll look down below, you'll see, as you saw just a minute ago, police in riot gear lining the streets, protesters on the other side. Just moments ago, they threw a flashbang to try and disperse the crowd. They've been using tear gas as well all night. We're going to show you a little bit of video from earlier this evening. You'll see, again, police in riot gear trying to disperse the large crowd gathered here in Uptown Columbus. Protesters were throwing water bottles and other objects at the police officers. This forced officers to use tear gas to try to get people to leave the area. The video you see here was shot about an hour after police say a person was shot in this area during the protest. The city said that this person is in the hospital in critical condition, but they were shot by another civilian, not a police officer. The city has also confirmed at least one officer has been injured in the protest. We spoke with one protester earlier this evening. Here's what he had to say.
Down there, describe whatever you want. We love this.
Come with me, stay there and come with me. And Charlotte Mayor Jennifer Roberts announcing tonight that the Department of Justice is sending 4 people who will be on the ground in Charlotte tomorrow. Those 4 individuals were part of the team that went to Ferguson. The governor also announced this evening that he will be sending some state troopers to help out with the situation here in Charlotte. That's per the request of the Charlotte police officer, just asking the governor for additional help as protests continue here in Charlotte. We'll continue to stay on top of this developing story. Of course, bring you the latest on air and online here on CBS North Carolina. For now, reporting live in Charlotte, David Hurst, CBS North Carolina.
still got it. They're arresting him, but he's talking to him right now.
Pretty clearly?
Oh yeah.
So if I reference it?
Are they rolling on this? No, it's great. I had him the whole time. I had him throwing him, threw him up against the wall.
I guess you're gonna be able to show it, right?
I am. When is that coming up?
Our next game? About a minute.
I mean, if you're going to be in it. I mean, are they rolling on this? Can they turn that around?
It's gotten pretty crazy. There must be something down
Yeah. Can we? We just have one other person that's coming. Present help in the time of trouble. And then there's another scripture that says in the New Testament that somehow all things God's purposes. And then there are words is violence. Taking health care is violence. And then she said even a lack of willpower to do something about the violence that's hurting people is a sick and sinister form of violence. The unrest in Charlotte, the righteous nonviolent protest, the unrest in Charlotte is not about black people hating police. Look at the pictures. They are black and white and brown saying hands up, don't shoot. It is not about black people hating police. It's about black, white, and brown people rising up against systems of injustice that protect officers who kill. That's what it's about. It's about saying we are against bad police because bad police make it bad for good police. And we recognize that we need this kind of coalition. These are the homegrown leaders and prophets and ministers. We don't have to be helicoptered in. Listen to them, Charlotte. Listen to them, Mayor. Listen to them, nation. Listen to them. They have something to say, not from the ivory towers of speculation or from the closed walls of a legislature or hiding behind the safety zones of a mansion. But they've been in the street.
Yeah, that's right.
Long before this happened. And they're going to stay there. And they are attempting to echo the hurt and the pain. And if we hear the sound of Rachel crying because her children are no more, perhaps that lament and the instructions out of that lament can turn us in a new direction and toward a better Charlotte and a better America.
Leaders that are serving in the Charlotte community. On Tuesday, we gathered in the streets with our community, bearing witness to the righteous rage, to the lament, to the pain that was a pulse throughout our community. We gathered knowing, serving in this community, I'm a pastor in this community, not only a chair of a coalition. We gathered knowing that Tuesday night did not begin on Tuesday night. Yesterday evening, we went back out into the streets with our community, with protesters, to once again bear witness, to be a faithful presence to the pain, to the lament, to the righteous rage, to the protest. We began at Little. The night began with such promise and beauty, seeing people frankly come together in our community in protest. We had children out there, we had young organizers, 18, 19, 20. We had seniors and elders in our community who knew the pain and felt it and bore witness to it. Early in the evening, the police were around in the community on bicycles and in uniforms. And then I received a text message from a colleague, please come to the epicenter. As I approached the epicenter with one of my colleagues, we saw that the police were there in riot gear lined up, and something in the air had changed. The police officers in riot gear were flanked on either side of Trade Street, and so we gathered with our community, with the protesters. And as we gathered with them, we took hands, and then the police began to walk toward us. They marched toward us, and they waited until people gathered around them. We were standing there, gathered around them. The same police, many of them that we had spoken with the night before, that we had protected and promised that they would get home safely. And they did. We stood in front of them, staring at them in their eyes. But this time, there was not conversation, there was a line that was formed. The police moved from standing in front of us to standing to the side, forming a line of 2 officers, all in riot gear, with bully sticks out. We then gathered around the police again, once again with our community, and they marched down Trade. No command was given as the night before to move. No issue or instruction was given. They marched us down into the Omni. As they gathered, they put their backs to the glass door, and then we saw people begin to be struck with the clubs. We saw people falling and hitting the floor. We heard a shot. People began to run. It was chaos. I want to be clear, we came to be a presence for justice. Clergy, faith leaders, 40 of us in this city out in the night. As soon as the shot was fired, we heard a smoke bomb. As soon as the smoke bomb was released, we heard some kind of light or sound bomb, a flash bomb, and then tear gas. We could not run out of there fast enough as the canisters were released out into us. People were dispersing. We were running. This is a city that made me a minister. It's the first place I've served. This is a city where I married my spouse, where I had my children. And now this is the city that tear gassed me. Last night did not have to end like it ended.
Yes.
It did not have to end like it ended.
Yes.
We want to be clear about that. We have critical hours now as our city is being militarized. We praise the decision of leaders not to have a curfew, which we know would further militarize us.
Amen.
We are begging as faith leaders serving in this city for action that will de-escalate.
Yes.
Tonight, the end of tonight is not yet written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, well, I'll let me just say what our fear is. Our fear is dealing with the system that would refuse to release the tapes that belong to the people. That's the most fearful thing. Why would a system hold something that belongs to the people? All North Carolinians should be fearful of that. Secondly, there will be protests. There's going to be protests throughout America. That's American way. As long as there's injustice, there's going to be protests. There's going to be lament, and should be. We don't know what violence will occur because that's not what we're doing. We're not a part of that. But what we do know is that there is an exacerbation of hurt and pain when you do not just do the simplest thing. Amen. See, we're not asking for people to be tried, convicted on the street. We want them in a court of law. Amen. We're not asking for anybody to bypass the law. Let me give you a scenario. You a TV camera? Are you a news camera? Yeah. You're a newswoman. Yes. Okay, you have a camera, right? Yes. Okay, if your helicopter had been flying over that car, right? And you had seen what happened with your camera, where would you put it?
I believe we would.
On 6 o'clock news? On 11 o'clock news? On the 5 a.m. news? On the 6 a.m. news? Because you would feel like an obligation. Now, you wouldn't be saying the person is guilty, but you would release it to the public. The governor, the attorney general, the mayor, the prosecutor, the city, the police chief have our tapes.
But the chief has said adamantly this morning he was not going
Well, but we disagree. It's not a decision. He is hired, right? He's hired by, I think these people pay.
We own those tapes.
Right. And so we're calling for them. And from the ACLU, the NAACP, the Attorney General has even said that he was against the bill that was just recently passed, that's block and take. That's what we're talking about. Okay. That should be done immediately. You know, I'm sure that there may be person that come in. I'm more focused on the people that are on the ground. Charlotte is a big city. You've got strong leadership here. You know, injustice does not have boundaries. So if there are peaceful people that want to come in and protest and join with them, I'm sure they will do. What we did in the civil rights movement and in the movement is you always check in with the local. So we say to folk that want to come in, check in on the ground. Don't just come in, but check in with what's on, because the folk here have to be here after all is over. And if you want to do violence, stay where you are.
That's right.
The family says that, the community of faith says that, the civil rights community says that, because we're trying to get something done here. We're trying to change the system, and we don't want the attention to be on broken glass when we're trying to get the attention on the broken system.
Dr. Barber, in light of the...
Wait, let me get this.
Okay.
Andy Sullivan of Warriors Wires Police, who did that. What have people been telling you?
I'm going to have Reverend Robin Tanner come to the mic because she's one of the witnesses.
What I will tell you is as we entered the Omni, you have several hundred people along with all of the police fitting into a very small area, and then you also have police with clubs that are out, and people are falling to the ground. I am not saying I know who shot that protester, because it was pure chaos, and I don't know how anyone could definitively say that without a thorough investigation. It was chaos underneath there. People were tripping over each other. Any of the news reporters and the media who were there know exactly what I'm talking about. There were smoke bombs going off. People did not have clear lines of vision. And so without an investigation, without any ballistics report, an independent ballistics report, how do we know?
We got...
Okay, I can't speak on conversations that anyone has had with the police that I have not had with the police.
In the interest of all information coming out, did he have a legal right to possess a gun? Did he own a gun? And did he habitually carry a weapon in his normal course of activity?
We're still looking into the facts. My understanding, based on talking with his family, is that he did not own a gun, that he did not habitually carry a gun. And as far as we know, we still don't know if there was or was not a gun even there. There are witnesses who are saying that no gun was there. There are witnesses who say that a gun was put there. There are witnesses who say that a gun may have been pulled out of the car or they saw something on the ground beside. There's too much talk. We're here to get answers, and we're not going to deal in skepticism.
But you are unequivocally saying he did not own a weapon.
As far as we know, at this point in time, no. He did not own a handgun.
Did he have a permit?
I don't know if he had a permit or not.
So you talk about openness and transparency. So in
that vein, will you commit to us, Mr. Bamberg, that you will address the media after you view the video?
At this point in time, no, I'd be lying if I said I'm going to commit to addressing the media after reviewing the video. I can't answer hypotheticals when I have not and we have not had the opportunity to see what's there.
You just stood there and scoped the situation by saying he was holding a book again. If you see the video and convincingly see him holding a gun, whether it's pointed or not, Mr. Putney said you don't believe it was pointed at him. Can we not at least settle that issue, and would that be the greater good for the community?
At the end of the day, my priority is the greater good of this family first. That has to be understood. You also have to keep in mind that this concept of transparency, the police shot Mr. Scott. The police are the public servants. He's a citizen. So this concept of transparency, yes, we want transparency. Yes, we don't create the facts. We live with the facts, okay? But you can't take the burden that is placed on law enforcement as sworn officers and public servants and put that on a deceased person or their family who's in mourning. But I will say that upon reviewing what is there, we don't know how many hours of footage there is. And one thing is we like to speak and answer facts that we know and have seen, and we don't hypothesize.
Did anyone in his family witness the shooting?
Come again, sir? Yes, sir, we can do that.
We've heard repeatedly that Mr. Scott had a disability. Could you describe his disability in detail?
Mr. Scott was involved in a very bad accident approximately a year ago. Suffered some pretty severe bodily injuries as well as some head trauma in that. I have not looked at his medical records. That is something that has to be looked at in further detail on our end. But at the end of the day, he was disabled. That is our understanding. And again, we're still in the early processes of evaluating everything that's there. And we'll take one more question. Did anyone in his family witness the shooting? Yes, it's my understanding that his wife saw him get shot and killed, and that's something that she will never ever forget.
Have you talked to the chief of police and city officials about this, about next steps? Have you had conversations with them?
The extent of the conversation with the public officials here in Charlotte has been our request that we be able to review this video that they've been referencing. They've been responsive, and as I say, when we leave here, we will be moving forward to review that video later this afternoon. Yes, my name is Justin Bamberg. Justin Bamberg.
Yes, I'm Eduardo Curry, Eduardo Curry.
And I'm Charles Monette, Monnett.
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Well, Sean, the family was expected to be here, but their attorneys say they canceled last minute, saying they were too emotional to speak. We did learn, though, for the very first time that Scott's wife witnessed the shooting. The attorney tells us it's something that she'll remember for the rest of her life. During that shooting, the police chief says Scott was armed, but that's something the family is questioning. Plus, the family is asking for peaceful protests this evening. Coming up at 6, we'll have more on how city and state leaders are preparing for what could be another violent night. Reporting live in Charlotte, David Hurst, CBS, North Carolina. You want to go?
Go where? Along to the parking lot?
Trying to talk to him?
have the necessary people to sort of deal with it. As you know, there's an October 1st rule that they had about dissemination, and so we'll see what that triggers. But at this particular point, this is very traumatic for the family, and what they're asking is for privacy and respect, and asking everyone to take a step back and try to find themselves, even in peaceful protest.
Did it clarify your original thoughts or the original plan of the book?
At this point, I have no comment. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Please, my name? I'm Eduardo Curry, attorney Eduardo Curry, EDUARDO CURRY. We're a team of attorneys together. The other one was Justin Bamberg, and the other was Chuck Monat. Okay?
I apologize, so we missed your original statement. If you wanted to clarify one more.
No, I'm just clarifying that we saw different angles from the tape, body cams, dash cams, DVRs, and so what we're doing is making an assessment. We're sure at some point the public is going to see videos, but it may be a process. So we're going to let the process take out.
Eduardo, were you given any copies or
Not yet.
freeze frames, anything like
No.
that, or did you just read once?
We just viewed it as many times as we'd like, but at this point, we have no further comment.
We have to ask, does what you saw corroborate the presence of a gun?
There's a lot of things there. We're evaluating them, and at some point we'll make a further statement to the public about our position.
Any timeline on that?
We're working on it diligently. We just got on the case yesterday, and so everybody's got a head start but us, but we'll make up the ground later.
There was a resident who said she had videotaped. She had released. She had videotaped to show the door.
Wow. Well, they haven't. They should release it to you all. Okay? Thank you.
15 minutes ago, the family, along with their attorneys, left the police station here after viewing the footage of the officer-involved shooting. Now, we caught up with the family as they were leaving the police station, and they did not comment on what they saw. One of the family's attorneys, though, tell us they were able to watch the video multiple times. This comes after the police chief said he would allow us, North Carolina.
All right, y'all, it's cars right here.
We got the ghetto bird helicopter drop.
This is what democracy looks like. Our streets.
Fuck the police.
Our streets.
All right, I got two.
We tired of motherfucking town. We tired of Jesus. He ain't coming back. No, we got to do something. We know you want. We know. You know what? In every war, release the day. Release the day. Release the day.
Stop the violence, keep the peace. Stop the violence, keep the peace. Stop the violence, keep the peace. Stop the violence. Stop the violence.
The lives matter, gentlemen. The lives matter, sir. Peace.
Hell yeah. Black Lives Matter.
No peace. No peace. No peace.
No peace! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice!
No peace.
No justice!
No peace.
No justice! No peace!
No racism. Police.
No justice!
No peace.
Where's Ken? Right there.
Gary, peaceful so far tonight. What's kind of, how does this compare to last night?
Well, it's much better than last night, and you know we're talking to the people in the streets and trying to be out here with them and tell them the do's and the don'ts, and you know keep it moving. If they want to protest peacefully, you know we're here to support them.
I see a lot of kind of community activists out here trying to, diffuse the situation a little bit. What's kind of the effect behind that?
They got called out. They got called out because a lot of people texted and tweeted out, "Where were you last night?" So you know a lot of people pull them out, and that's the good part about it. They come out and they're out here helping. We ask the pastors to come out. We ask the community activists, and so having them just to have that ear for them, and also that mouthpiece for the people in the street just to talk to them, and so that works out better tonight.
You were obviously out here last night, in front of the police station, telling folks to go home, trying to get them to calm down a little bit. What was kind of your message to them last night?
Well, I mean, let's have a conversation. Let's build a relationship. We stood out here for probably an hour, and the first part, yes, we never agreed on anything. At the end of the night, we all left with, I'm going to call you, you're going to call me. Two of those people today called me and said, when can we meet next week? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to sit down, have a conversation with them, and find out their wants, desires, and stuff. Yelling in the street is part of it, but let's sit down to the table and build a relationship. Tell me what you want, tell me what you don't like, and maybe we can do something about it.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thanks
Yes,
for
sir.
your time. All right.
Y'all can all go home to your families. We got a problem with people that aren't here right now. The people that y'all are fighting for. We're not fighting for rioters. We're fighting for people that lost loved ones. And y'all know about that. Y'all know about that. And yet y'all are fighting. You got heart. You got good heart. Y'all know that to your folks. Y'all should go home and see your love.
What about that? How is the situation now? Well, we think it's better. We have more resources on the ground, and we are working very hard to be a great team with our local resources and our state resources. And we have the National Guard here, the state troopers. We have imposed a curfew. That curfew will be in effect from midnight until 6 a.m.
Mayor, why the curfew?
Well, we had a lot of requests from the business community. They believe that nothing good happens after midnight. We also know that it helps us keep the streets safe, and we know that there are exceptions for people who are going to work, who are have things that they need to be doing during that time. But I think it's one more tool that we have when we declare a state of emergency. We're going to see how it goes. We'll assess it day by day.
Thank you.
How many days?
People hitting the water bottles.
No? Yeah, Sean, Sharon, we're on one of the bridges over Highway 277. As you mentioned earlier, protesters blocked it briefly, but as you can see now, the highway is clear. Police were able to be proactive and move them pretty quickly. Just about 10 to 15 minutes ago, those protesters marched over this bridge and into uptown Charlotte. Now, for the most part, this has been extremely peaceful. It's really been a different story than what we've seen the past 2 nights. We just got word from Charlotte police that there have not been any reported injuries from civilians or police. The real big difference tonight, though, is the amount of police presence here. The governor called on the National Guard at the request of the police chief. There are also state troopers here assisting the local police force as well. Now, the midnight curfew will take effect here in about 20 minutes. We spoke with the mayor right after she made that decision.
Sorry. Let's go back. Here he goes, here he goes, here he goes.
As you can see back here, police helicopters monitoring things from the air. Again, that curfew is about to take effect here in about 15 minutes. That's really the next thing that police here are going to be keeping an eye on, but it'll be interesting to see how they enforce that here in about 15 minutes or so. We'll continue to stay on top of this developing story, bring you the latest right here on CBS North Carolina. For now, reporting live in Charlotte, David Hirsch, CBS North Carolina. Yeah, guys, we're still here about actually 3 minutes now past the curfew, and as you can see, protesters still in the streets, still marching. Now, we just received word that 2 officers have been injured after they were sprayed with a chemical agent by demonstrators. That's coming from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. And again, protesters still in the streets. We're still not seeing any real violence like what we saw the past 2 nights. For the most part, they still remain peaceful. It's still unclear as to how police officers are going to protect this curfew, which has now been in place for about 3 minutes now. Again, as you can see, still people in the streets, still people marching. We'll just see here momentarily, I guess, if police officers are going to do anything to enforce this curfew. For now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio. Okay, good deal. That looked good. Okay.
Hey, all I want to say is, man, we want justice. We out here going hard all day just for justice. We want to see our people make it in peace. You know what I'm saying? We can't even walk our streets in peace. They got a curfew on us for what? We trying to do what? We out here, man.
Activity to kind of drive them away. If you take a look up the street there, you'll still see people marching through uptown. It doesn't really seem like there's any signs of stopping really. We have seen some people go home. We're gonna have to move out of the street here a little bit. They've opened traffic back up. But if you look down at this intersection down here, this is where you saw images yesterday of tear gas, police, and riot gear, and a completely different scene today as it turned out to be a lot more peaceful than it has been the past 2 nights. As you can see, maybe here on the side near the Omni, you can see the National Guard has been brought in. The governor brought in the National Guard to help after the police chief requested that help. They're also getting a troopers on today, and it's really evident that there are more police officers here and a bit more of a police presence, and that's one of the reasons why that's led to be a little bit more peaceful. But we'll continue to stay out here and monitor the situation. Again, no signs really of police working to move people out of the streets or to bring them or take them into custody because of the curfew. But we'll continue to monitor the situation. For now, reporting live in Charlotte, David Hirsch, CBS, North Carolina. until Sunday night. Reporting live in Charlotte, David Hirsch, CBS, North Carolina. Three, two, check.
During the third night of protests in Charlotte, the calls became louder for police to release the video of the shooting. Thursday afternoon, Keith Scott's family was allowed to view the footage. After watching the video, they said they'd like the video released. Thursday afternoon, Keith Scott's family was allowed to view the footage. After watching the video, they said they'd like the video to be Thursday afternoon, Keith Scott's family was allowed to view the footage. After watching the video, they say they'd like it to be released to the public. The Charlotte mayor says the footage should be released, but it's not at this time because she wants to protect the state attorney general Greg Cooper began saying he has a system where he's the for Governor McCoy, his governor, the governor's races.
Sean, many of the protesters last night were demanding police to release that video, and we expect similar calls this evening. All this while the police chief and mayor continue to say that they're not going to be releasing any footage at this time. As for tonight, as you can see, the National Guard is back in town, and the governor says they plan on being here until at least Sunday night. That curfew implemented last night will also be in effect for tonight as well. That'll take effect at midnight. Reporting live in Charlotte, David Hirsch, CBS, North Carolina.